Boruto thought making a deal with the devil meant that the devil would patiently be waiting for his turn. However, to someone like Momoshiki, contracts are more like suggestions. The scary part is not that Boruto promised to surrender his body after Jura died. The scary part is realizing Momoshiki doesn't need to wait long, because chapter 36 quietly showed us the exact kind of scenario that almost broke Boruto once before. And if this is where the story is indeed headed, Sarada's capture that happens in this chapter isn't just going to be the next rescue mission. It could be the event that finally forces Boruto to face the one opponent that he's never truly defeated, the monster living inside his own soul. And honestly, years of trauma for Boruto might finally be hitting the point where Boruto reaches the point of no return, because that monster inside of his soul, it isn't Momoshiki, it's Boruto's own guilt. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video, where your OBC, your original Boruto chief, breaks down why the scary shot of Momoshiki controlling Boruto, now that we have full context with the chapter, should trouble you, because it means years of compounding trauma might have finally broken now that Boruto has failed to save Sarada. Also, the chapter drops on the 20th this month on Manga Plus, free to read, and the review will be up on YouTube on the 20th as well. So check out the review after you read the chapter officially. Lastly, we just dropped a super in-depth video breaking down how strong every version of Kakashi is. From Hokage Kakashi, who looks like he's about to return now, all the way as far back as Kid Kakashi. I strongly recommend that one, especially if you are unsure where Kakashi stacks up without having the Sharingan. That video will be in the description box and in credits, and even though it's a 36-minute video, I am extremely proud of that one, how it turned out. Which, side note, did not realize that YouTube, their AI placed an ad on the first 90 seconds of the video. I've gotten that removed, but did not realize that that's what happened. So for the longest time, one question has hung over Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. How exactly does Momoshiki collect on his deal, and does Boruto have a way to back out of the deal? After all, Boruto willingly promised that once Jura was defeated, Momoshiki, a former villain, a current villain, would receive complete control over his body. Momoshiki accepted that deal because from his perspective, it was only a matter of time. Jura dies, Boruto keeps his word, and then his body becomes his. Then he just has to figure out a way to kill Kawaki when the time comes. On the surface, if you are Momoshiki, that outcome looks super simple. If you can survive the Jura battle, you're basically home free until you're in a situation where you have to deal with something unexpected. But until then, your power is free for Boruto to use. Except chapter 36 throws a wrench into that entire assumption, because Kashin Koji didn't just see a future where Momoshiki eventually gained Boruto's body. He saw a future where Momoshiki already had it, and given everything that has taken place and Kashin Koji's reaction, it was well before the date of Jura's defeat. The horn, it had returned. Boruto's eye was closed. Momoshiki was clearly suppressing Boruto's consciousness, because that has been consistent when Momoshiki hijacks his body. The Byakugan is visible, but the other eye, it is closed. Most importantly, Jura was not standing there when Boruto was facing Himawari or Kawaki, but in the other panels, it appears as if Jura is still in the background. That detail matters far more than I think people realize. If Ikimoto wanted readers to simply think, well, that's it, after Jura dies, this is what happens, there would have been nothing stopping him from placing a dead Jura or a battle damaged Jura somewhere on the panel, or even implying that the battle itself had ended. All those panels we saw Jura in that 10 Directions vision, they were non-combat, and that is a major red flag. Instead, the image of so much controversy exists almost entirely in isolation. It was just Momoshiki controlling Boruto's body. The two souls in the same body, but only one of those souls is calling the shots, and the person in charge doesn't say that they like Thunderburgers. That image of Himawari and Kawaki watching the two siblings of Boruto, one by blood and one by adoption, it is poetic irony. The last time that Momoshiki hijacked Boruto's body for an extended period, Momoshiki tried to kill Boruto's father Naruto, and now Momoshiki might be trying to kill Boruto's siblings. The guilt and trauma this may put on Boruto, even if they don't die, it is going to be enormous. It's even more eerie because there's no context. And when Boruto intentionally removes the context from a vision, there's usually a reason. It usually means Ikimoto is teasing something in plain sight and is hidden behind all the eye-popping stuff. Like we saw Momoshiki's multiplication jutsu on full display in a 10 Directions vision way back when Kashin Koji got his update when Kawaki was fighting Jura. Something is changing here. Some detail that we are overlooking. What if this isn't the future that Boruto initially expected? What if this isn't Momoshiki collecting on the agreement and Jura wasn't killed before we got to that final stage of Jura reading the last page of Makeout Tactics and seeing the live action movie for it, which there is a live action movie for it in the Naruto universe. FYI, it is confirmed in the background of Boruto's anime. This could be a situation where Momoshiki is forcing the issue because he saw his opportunity and he ran with it. Because if there's one thing in Boruto Part 1 established beyond any doubt at all, is that Momoshiki doesn't actually need permission when Boruto reaches a certain mental state. Think back to Omnipotence. The plot twist that many Boruto fans will tell you is probably the best plot twist in the series. Boruto had just watched his entire life disappear. His parents were suddenly dead, and then he heard from Kawaki they were sealed away. Sarada almost got killed defending him from Kawaki, and then suddenly he's got Momoshiki laughing in his ear and Mitsuki going into sage mode trying to kill him, and all his former friends are out with bloodlust in their eyes aimed at him, minus Sarada and Sumire. The village that he once helped save twice now wanted him executed. He had, in his short career as a ninja, lived out the expression which I will paraphrase. He became the hero that was viewed as a villain. A whole grown man's story arc placed at the footsteps of a 12-year-old boy who has been running behind on puberty and hadn't even hit his growth spurt yet because he was a late bloomer like his father. Everyone he loved suddenly believed Kawaki was Naruto's son, and Momoshiki was rubbing it in his face. His own identity had been erased almost instantly. Momoshiki's smile during that time was enough to haunt even the most hardened manga reader, because this time you knew it was different. This wasn't a warning about what was coming. No, it had already come, and Boruto's worst nightmare was now here. Momoshiki believed that he had already won. He was that person who was counting the money on their paycheck before the deposit hit. In his mind, he believed Boruto was about to break, and he was just watching that door slowly open. When it got to a certain point, he planned to just walk straight in because Momoshiki would be in a situation where Boruto was too far gone, too far drowning in despair. That entire conversation is one of the most important scenes in Boruto because Momoshiki reveals something a lot of readers overlook. He doesn't simply attack Boruto physically, not like you would see a lesser series do with their protagonist and their inner demon. He attacks him psychologically. He waited for Boruto to be isolated and hunted down, and then the whole time laughing in his ear while Boruto struggled to understand what had just happened. The night before, he slept in his own bed. Now he's running away from his friends, unsure when he'll ever be able to return home, unsure when he'll ever have a Thunderburger ever again. Momoshiki's cruel plan, it worked because it stripped away hope without Momoshiki ever having to lift a finger. All he had to do was gaslight Boruto and force Boruto towards despair, because Boruto despair, when that happens, it weakens Boruto's resistance. It breaks the yin chakra in his body, which is tied to his emotions, and when that happens, Momoshiki can take control and do what he threatened Boruto with, which is after Boruto loses the will to live, he shoves Boruto into a corner of his own mind and he doesn't ever let him go free. That's why Momoshiki spent chapter after chapter trying to convince Boruto everything was over. Just give up, stop resisting, accept reality. He even at one point tells him, hey, I can kill Team 10 for you, and he starts the process of taking control of his body by cutting the Karma Seal on against Boruto's will. It almost worked. Boruto was one final push away from going over the edge, and then the former ore farming king of the Naruto franchise swooped in and said, not today, Boruto. Had Sasuke not shown up when he did, Boruto would have lost himself and become the very monster that everyone thought that he was. That timing was not random. Sasuke interrupted the psychological attack before it reached its conclusion. It's very poetic because he had just saw his own daughter have a mental breakdown right before that. Sasuke at the end of that whole thing needed a couple of drinks, one for Boruto, one for Sarada, even though he failed. This was a shining moment for Momoshiki's character. Momoshiki wasn't trying to win through brute strength. He was trying to convince Boruto to just surrender. The one thing that a shonen protagonist is never supposed to do, especially when you are the son of Naruto. It's why Momoshiki went crazy when he saw Boruto's will to live had come back and Sasuke turned despair into desperation to reclaim his old life and fix his family. Boruto had almost lost the war, but now it was Momoshiki who was the one on the retreat. That white flag wasn't raised, but Momoshiki was busy looking for bleach to get the stains out the flag that he dreaded he might have to raise if Boruto's resolve stayed this strong. That breakthrough moment for Boruto becomes incredibly important when looking at chapter 36, because now Boruto once again stands on the edge of another emotional catastrophe. Only this time, it might actually be worse when you think about it, because this comes after years of compounding trauma from Omnipotence, and more importantly, years of loss and years of training to prevent the worst possible future where Jura kills everyone. Think about Boruto's current situation. 2 years ago, he failed to protect Sasuke. Yes, Sasuke. He willingly sacrificed himself. Yes, Boruto couldn't have stopped Code or the Ten Tails attack back then. His sensei willingly went into his last moments ready to protect Boruto, and he entrusted his daughter to Boruto. Think about the burden that places on Boruto's shoulders. They may have broadened after a year of being on the run and training, but they were still the shoulders of a child. People don't judge themselves objectively, especially people who are carrying survivor's guilt. That's a mountain that some survivors, they never actually climb, even after years of therapy. Boruto's therapy was running from the Anbu Black Ops and sleeping with his good eye open. Boruto already blames himself for what happened, and that weight of Sasuke telling him to take care of Sarada moments before he saw his master get struck down, that is not something you ever forget. Instead, that is something that haunts you. When Boruto saw that Sasuke stepped between him and the complete despair that was happening when he realized that he was losing everything at the end of Boruto Part 1, Sasuke didn't just save Boruto's life. Instead, he gave him a reason to live. That is huge. That is one moment that I don't think gets enough credit. Sasuke also was placing his faith in him against his own better judgment because he had faith in his daughter's love and concern for Boruto. Protecting Boruto meant protecting his daughter, and now Boruto's lasting images of his sensei were ones that would haunt someone. Now fast forward 2 years. Boruto has returned to Konoha. Sarada has spent the last 3 years defending Boruto and Sasuke at the risk of losing her Hokage dream, at the risk of it no longer being a reality because she stood between the very village that she once one day wished to lead, all to protect Boruto and Sasuke's honor. Sarada trusted him over the entire world, enough so that she was willing to put herself at risk to be captured because she trusted in Boruto's plan, regardless as to how risky it was. And now, because of Boruto's own strategy, she's been captured and Code threw the flying Raijin markers away. Sarada is completely naked now. alone without Boruto coming to wherever she's been taken, because there's no guarantee that Code took her to the Ten Tails dimension, because Code does know that Boruto has a marker there. There's something very subtle at play here. Boruto had a plan to trick the dumbest guy in the series, and the dumbest guy showed that even a genius can lose a game of strategy if they get too overconfident. Code figured out their plan and he adjusted, because he figured out how Boruto's flying Raijin worked, and this comes after we're told that Code has been using his brain by using the fact that the Shinju have his DNA and claw marks on his body to peer through and move around to place markers like we saw in the Momoshiki battle. Code was lurking. This means that Code very well could have caught sneak peeks at Boruto using the flying Raijin enough times that he realized, oh, he teleports to the markers. Because it's important to note that prior to all of this, Code only saw Boruto use flying Raijin less than a handful of times. He suddenly appeared inside of Konoha. He appeared inside the Ten Tails dimension, and then he teleported away when Momoshiki tried to consume him before Jura, Hidari, and Matsuri showed up. Code modified his own arm specifically to exploit the weaknesses based on this chapter to sense Boruto's chakra inside of those markers. It's kind of brilliant. Just as the Raikage had to memorize where Minato's markers were, Code had to use that arm to figure out where Boruto's markers were. It's a big brain move. Kashin and Koji saw their plan blow up, and he told Boruto, things have changed, bro. Sarada isn't making it out of this. The plan to have her be a decoy, it has failed, and I need you to not do anything stupid. So naturally, Boruto does the opposite. He gets pissed off and leaves as soon as he can. He locks on, and the irony is that Boruto needed time to lock on to his chakra signature. The weakness of his jutsu is that he needs a lot of time to focus when he is a long way away from his markers. If he had mastery on a level like the other flying Raijin users, the moment that Kashin Koji said that Sarada was in danger, he could have just zipped in with the Rasengan and put it right in Code's face. Go back to what Boruto said in chapter 4. He told Kashin Koji, I'm not as good at this as my grandpa. He knows he has limits. He's painfully aware of them. He was too late to stop the Ten Tails revival. Now he was too late to save Sarada from being captured. He really might be the second coming of Minato, because this man was late multiple times. The boulder dropped on Obito. Kakashi gave Rin the Valentine's Day Shodori. Obito ripped the Nine Tails out his wife faster than a yellow flash. Those Minato genes really did skip a generation. It wasn't just genius, it was also being terribly late. Kashin Koji has seen multiple timelines, including how every timeline he ever saw resulted in Jura being born, and very few were Jura ever lost. However, in this chapter we saw something new from Kashin Koji, which is very sincere fear for what he saw regarding the future, and that came after he saw Momoshiki controlling Boruto. Sarada might very well have been the last crack in the dam that breaks, or potentially the first crack that breaks for Boruto. The reason I say that is that every single event after Sarada's capture attacks the one weakness that Boruto's never truly overcome, his emotions. That's ironically one of the things that makes Boruto the strongest. His emotions are a guide to himself. They're what gives him the strength and keeps him anchored to the teachings of Naruto and Sasuke. People tend to think of Boruto as someone who always keeps a cool head, and for the most part that is true. During Two Blue Vortex, he has been almost frighteningly composed. If poker faces could be sold, Boruto would be banned from every casino in New Orleans. Jura shows up and Boruto keeps his focus, briefly breaking when he realized that he couldn't win. Hidari appears and Boruto adjusted and maintained his cool. Momoshiki entered the battlefield. Boruto changed priorities without panicking, except for when Sarada was in danger. The only time he ever broke was when his emotions broke through. That level of emotional discipline is not natural. I really want you to focus on that. This is not natural. This is something that is learned from years of emotional trauma, so intense that the fact that he has an awakening honorary Sharingan should be an insult. 3 years of running from some of the strongest people on the planet, including Code, while knowing that he was being hunted for murders that he didn't carry out. 3 years of hiding from Code. 2 years training under Kashin Koji with the pressure of, if you die, the world ends. Boruto had become the version of himself that we see, but there's a difference between controlling your emotions and no longer having emotional breaking points. Spoiler alert, every human has emotional breaking points. We just try to pretend that we don't when we have somebody we want to protect. And Boruto has been dealing with a ton of compound interest of trauma. At some point, you're not going to be able to walk that back. It's like when I lost multiple people between 2018 and 2022. I eventually had a moment where I broke down eating a bowl of rice in the kitchen with my brother-in-law and my sister. You can only hide your emotions, your trauma, your pain, your fears behind a wall for so long before it eventually becomes too much in order to bear. I fear we might be at that point with Boruto, and that's why Momoshiki has been able to take over. Momoshiki knows Boruto's desperate. He came to him with the intention of giving up his body. Momoshiki knows that Boruto's out of options. He is desperate. Villains know not to attract strengths. Instead, they know to go right after your thumbscrew. And Boruto's thumbscrew is his biggest strength, which is that giant heart of his. Now, it may finally be time for Momoshiki to rise up and declare to everyone that I am the hype before Kawaki suddenly says crap baskets and Himawari says I need an adult, only for Momoshiki to say I am an adult and then produce a giant Rasengan and flying Raijin combo, or a Rasengan Uzuhiko and flying Raijin combo attack. For Boruto, guilt has been carried around like a noose around his neck, while the weight of saving the world from Jura has been pushed down on his shoulders. The only thing keeping him on the platform of that small wobbling plank is basically made out of his ability to endure, like his father Naruto told him in chapter 700. If he was going to be a shinobi one day, he would have to endure. But in life, every person gets to a point where those arms used for fighting back, they grow too weary, where the thing that makes you break down and give up hope is the smallest thing to those looking from the outside in. But you know afterwards you broke because of the stress of all those tiny things building up. His parents are sealed. His brother wants to kill him. His identity has been stolen. His sensei is a tree. Now Sarada, the person that he was sworn to protect, might be leading the Uchiha clan into extinction if he can't save her, and he doesn't know where she's been taken. Could it be the Ten Tails dimension? Maybe, but Code should not be that stupid. If he is, I will never say another good thing about Code ever again. This is a big moment for Boruto, because the last words his master said were protect my daughter. And now Boruto might realize that he's once again failed his master, and that might be the moment where Momoshiki seizes control. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. Clicking here on the left to check out this Naruto Explained video, which when the chapter review drops on the 20th, I'll update that link. And click here on the right to check out that Kakashi video that I was talking to you guys about earlier.